What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Monday morning. Where are we at? We're at the 7th of March, 2020. I want to welcome everybody here. I want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate you being here. And I want to encourage you to get involved. Today is kind of a technical training. I go everything from technical to motivation to, just all kinds of different stuff. But today's a little bit more technical. So if you would please use that chat box and talk to me, okay? Don't let me get bored hearing myself. I don't want to get bored hearing myself, okay? I want to talk to you guys. So make sure you use that chat box. That's super helpful when you do that. You can ask questions. You can tell me what your weather is. You can say hello to me. You can do whatever you want, but please, please, please use that chat box. That is so, so important. And I tell you, I've said this like a million times, but the more you get involved with this stuff, the better your chances of doing well, okay? So you got to really get involved. You got to be there. You got to be present. You can't just kind of hang out in the shadows. As far as participating, the first thing you can do is subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button down there. Hit that red button. Turn it gray. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up also. Also, there's a bell. Once you subscribe, a bell is going to appear. I want you to ring it. Turn on all bell notifications so you're notified each and every time I go live. I would really appreciate that. Today we're going to be talking about churn rate. Now, you either know about churn rate or you don't. Okay, there's only two ways you can be on churn rate. However, if you don't know about churn rate, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you really want to listen today because this can make you a lot of money. If you do know about churn rate, if you are somebody who has some subscriptions going, that type of thing, then make sure you listen to everything I'm telling you today because it can save you a lot of money. What's Paul got to say today? Paul says it's a little cooler here today. Same thing here, Paul, in Hot Springs, warming to the 70s this week. I don't think we're getting out of the 50s today, Paul. What are we doing today? What are we doing? Well, it says it's 42 now and we're going to have a high of 54, but it was like 78 yesterday. So it's kind of weird. It's got that bouncing back and forth thing that, it always does. Richard, what's going on, buddy? He says, buenos dias from Mexico. Good to see you here, buddy. He's got a nice relaxing picture there for everybody to enjoy. I've got it up on the screen now. So, I guess before I really get into this churn rate thing, I ought to talk about it a little bit and kind of tell you guys about it. If you don't know about it, I want to make sure that you do. I'd like to show you how to calculate it. But basically all it is the proportion of the customers who stop paying for a product or service during a given time period. So maybe it's how many stop every month. Okay. That's what most of us do is we'll calculate a monthly thing. It's actually the complete opposite of what a growth rate is. Okay. A growth rate is as you're building more and more customers. So it's different from that. It's really kind of easy to understand metric, okay, because it's a simple formula to calculate churn rate that, has some limitations and potential traps, but overall, if you use this formula, you're not going to have a problem. It's going to be pretty simple. So why are these churn rates so important? Why do they matter so much? Well, there's multiple reasons why keeping track of your churn rate is, and how it's working can help boost your marketing performance. But there's 5 main reasons, okay? And I want to go through those 5 main reasons real first. And you can write these down. You can come back and listen to this later on. But the first one is obvious. It directly affects your revenue, okay? Churn rate is a decelerator of growth. It means your company is shrinking, okay? Not a good thing. But unlike growth rate, a certain percentage of churn is always going to be there, always going to be there. Let's say you had, 100 people paying you every single month, okay? And they were all on credit cards because that's how we bill. And some of those credit cards became invalid during the month because, let's say the expiration date on the credit cards was no longer any good. Okay, let's say a portion of those people canceled that card because some of them got stolen and they had to get a new card. So you can see, even if everybody loves you to death and they think you're the greatest person in the world, you're always going to have a certain degree of churn rate. That's just going to happen. Let's see, what did he put in here? Richard says something about his weather here. Mexico has perfect weather, 70s in the day and 60s at night. That is some beautiful stuff, Richard. Beautiful stuff. How long are you down there? Are you staying for a while? I know you go back and forth a lot. Give me another sip. And this was it next month? Yeah, next month we're heading out to New Orleans. Booked my flight already. I've got it narrowed down to like 11 hotels. So I'm going to be in New Orleans for Easter weekend. Going to meet a friend from high school there who I've known, gosh, since we were 14 years old. So pretty long time. So that's what I'm going to be doing. All right, so let's get back to this thing. All right, obviously it affects your revenue. Next thing it is it influences your word of mouth marketing. Okay, word of mouth marketing is pretty important. I'm sure you subscribe to some type of product or service because somebody just told you about it. Maybe it was a meal planning kit or clothing thing or whatever it is. But that's pretty darn important stuff. Word of mouth marketing, if people are canceling, if somebody says to their friend, well, hey, I just canceled mine. They're like, yeah, I probably ought to cancel mine too. That can really snowball. So that's why it's a bad thing. Number three, it's an early indicator of bad news for your business, right? Because if your churn rate is super high, that means your business is going down, and that's not what we want. The fourth thing is it's a customer lifetime value variable. And what I mean by that is every customer has a lifetime value. And as that churn rate gets higher and higher and higher, your lifetime value of your customer goes down. So that's something else you want to concern yourself with. And it's also a metric for performance forecast. How is your company going to grow? What's it going to do in the future? That's why it's important to know how to calculate this. Now, you may already have noticed that, I've talked about churn rates in relationship to both customers and revenue, but there are two types of churn rates, and it's everything you need to know about calculating them. Okay, so here we go. The first one is your customer churn formula. Let me see here. Paul is asking a question. Let me throw it up on the screen. He says, what did you say, Paul? He says, I'm sure word of mouth is a key to success of this channel. I've personally recommended this to my circle, and they love the content. Thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate that. And he's got another comment on here. Do you have a system to get them back once gone or just on new clients? We do, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of that today. Remind me if I don't cover that thoroughly enough, but I am going to cover that today. So let's talk about the formula first, okay? Now try to get this in your head, and I think what I'm going to do is I've got it on my screen here. I'm going to copy and paste it and put it in the chat. All right, so this is your customer churn formula. Let me stick this over here real quick. And I'm going to paste it and hit chat, okay? Let's see here. And I've got some more comments. Guys, I appreciate your comments so much. It says, I will be in Mexico for 2 weeks, Cancun for 1, and Miami for 1 week. I'm making great smoked barbecue dishes like sea bass, chicken, steak. Do a video, Richard, do a video. Get your channel going, buddy. I've got a bunch I've got to edit, so I'm probably going to work on that today. I did put in the chat section, guys, what the churn rate formula is. I'll read it also, and then we can kind of think about it. But it's basically customers lost during a period over customers at the start of the period times 100. That's your churn rate, okay? So that makes sense. Now, for example, let's say on the beginning of the month, you had 1,000 active customers. And then at the end of the month, you lost 25 of them, okay? So this means that your monthly churn rate is 2.5%, okay? That's how many you're losing. Now, the next thing we want to look at is revenue churn rate. Revenue churn rate basically is revenue lost during a period over revenue at the start of a period times 100. So as you can see, it's basically the same formula, only variable different is, what number you're putting in there. So let's say that you have $100,000 monthly recurring revenue. And this is not a big number, guys. I know a lot of you are like, oh my God, 100,000 a month. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. We've done 100,000 in a day before. Matter of fact, well over $100,000 in a day. We don't do that every day, but some days we do. So let's say your monthly recurring revenue at the start of the period is $100,000, and you manage to upgrade some of your existing customers for an additional, say, $5,000 a month. You lose a few customers who've contributed to about $4,000 of your monthly revenue, and you notice $2,000 worth of downgrades. The revenue lost during the period is $1,000. This is that you lost $6,000 due to churned and downgraded customers, but you made $5,000 from customers who decided to upgrade. Your revenue churn rate for that period, therefore, is 1% of the formula. So it's I'm going to put this in the chat box too, because I feel like I may lose some of you guys on this. It is a little complicated. It really isn't if you see it in writing. So let me type this in here, and I'm going to paste it right there. Okay, there we go. So that should be in the chat box now. Let's see. Yeah, I think I got all my comments in there, so I'm good to go on that. Feel free to put more comments in there, guys. I mean, this is not formal. If you got questions about anything having to do with start running and growing online businesses, please put that in there, okay? All right, so the next part I have is which churn rate to use, which formula to use. It really doesn't take a math genius to figure out that the customer and churn rates usually differ, okay? They are different. But I recommend you calculate both churn rates because they provide additional information. You know, your churn rate may be good, but you're losing revenue, okay? Or your revenue may be going up, but your churn rate's way too high. So you want to kind of look at both of them. They both have their limitations. The formula that works best when calculating churn rates on a monthly basis, I would say, is the first one. You know, for longer periods of time, you may want to look at your revenue. That could be very helpful. And now the next question. This is the question everybody's going to ask. Let me get a sip here real quick. The big question is, what's a good churn rate for your business? Okay, what's a good churn rate? If you were to go to Google right now and you typed in what's a good churn rate, you're going to see anything from maybe 2% to 8% to be an acceptable churn rate. That's useless information for a metric where 1% difference could mean tons of money. On top of that, some of the resources don't even mention what type of churn over what period of time they're referring to. So are they talking about revenue? Are they talking about number of customers? That's not very helpful. So we do need a number. It's important to have something to anchor to recognize instances where churn is a minor problem or if it's a major deal, okay? So fortunately, all we need to do is get more specific with Google queries, okay? So make a list of the company or your competitors. Google their names in competition, I can't talk today. Google their names in combination with churn rate or retention rate. And use the inverse metric. And you're going to find those churn rates. It's actually going to show up and you're going to find that stuff. You could get some specific numbers. If you've publicly traded companies on your list, chances are you're going to get more numbers from people like them because they have to release all their information. So now we want to talk about ways to decrease churn rate, okay? This seems to be a misconception that churn happens after somebody becomes your customer. No, you can influence your churn rate at all stages of the marketing funnel. I mean, before they even become a customer, during the awareness time, you can actually affect it then, okay? So let's look at that. What can we do? The first thing you can do is collect feedback from churn customers. You know, the people who left your list, you can ask them, why did they leave your list? Why did they quit paying you? Why are they no longer customers of yours? By talking to them, you can get some real insights. The next thing you can do, number 2, is fix your position in the market, okay? Your target market should perceive your brand. They should understand your brand. It's an intended brand image. What are you doing with your brand image to keep people on your list? Positioning allows you to differentiate from your competitors and in some cases even influence how the target market perceives your competitors. You can use tools like Ahrefs, which I like a lot, and we use Ahrefs. I would suggest that. Make sure you target the right audience. The next thing is make sure you do target the right audience. Some customer segments churn more than others. You know, you saw the contrast between what Cloudflare with a 36% churn and Fastly that had a 0.7% churn. In an ideal world, you'd be spending most of your resources on reaching audiences that allow for product market fit, okay? But it doesn't always work that way. All right, number 4. Use better sales and have better customer service experiences, okay? The experience you have with your customer-facing staff makes a big difference. We get support tickets almost every single day, and I get in there and answer them, and Jessica answers them, and Philip answers them, and Jenny answers them, and Billy answers them, and a lot of people are in there answering these tickets. So we don't really have a situation where we say, well, one person, when they get around to it, will answer that ticket. We do it immediately. Okay. If I see it and I'm walking through the mall and I see one on my phone that pops up, I'm going to answer it right then. Okay. And we all do the same thing. So what you need to do is in combination with that, you do need to have some guidelines, your standard operating procedures that you're going to adhere to make sure that customers get handled. Next thing you could do to actually increase your signups, which is going to lower your churn rate, is to offer something free, some type of free version of your product, some freemiums, we call those, okay? They're still subscription based, but the first month, maybe they get free, or the first week, maybe they get free. It's a trial version before they get charged. So that can be very helpful for you. Next thing you can do is you can improve how you onboard your new customers, okay? Once they sign up for something, what do? Do you make them happy? Are you helping them out? Are you making them want to stay in your ecosystem? Are they going to want to keep paying? What are you doing to onboard people? Or are you just saying, okay, you're signed up now, here's your login? We want to make them feel good. We want to make them feel like they're part of the family, okay? So your onboarding is something I think you need to look at. Next thing I want to tell you, you should do is provide great product education resources. I know with our courses, I usually have an explainer video that will walk them through, the course, that will show them where they need to go next and how they need to, consume the information and what they need to do to get the most out of that information. That's very important that you do that. You make them feel like they're part of something by doing that. The more complex your product is, the more you should prioritize this education process in your marketing and communications. Generally, the prospects that we have are pretty happy. Okay, they like what they're getting, but you want to make sure you're using the right tools to do that, to make sure you are making them feel good about everything that they're doing. So important. Maybe you have a newsletter. Maybe you have a monthly thing. Maybe you give them, like in Kartra, you can give them stars or prizes as they complete different levels of the courses, and that makes them encouraged to continue to move on and do more. What's the next thing you can do? Well, this is a good one. How about improving your product? Okay, now our canned meats at our survival food company, I really can't improve that product. It is what it is. Okay, we make a canned meat, but courses, we could keep those updated. We could put new videos in there. We could add new content to those courses. We could do stuff like that. You could have the best product in the world, but there will always be a huge list of features and improvements that you can work on. Getting a new customer who assesses that you have the best product for them is great, but that favorite opinion can change in months and years if you come to reset, or excuse me, if you're resting on what your product originally was. I mean, if I just look at my marketing software that I used, I originally used Constant Contact. Okay, I wouldn't use Constant Contact for anything now. Not that it's a bad platform, but it doesn't do a quarter of what I need things done. I used MailChimp, I used Aweber, I used Infusionsoft, which is now Keep, and now I use Kartra, and I highly recommend Kartra. If you don't have Kartra, there will be a link to Kartra. If you're doing any marketing online, you want to check out Kartra. That'll be in the description below this video after I'm done, once it's actually published and it's not live. During the live, you can't see the description, so just so you understand that, but it will be there. So you want to keep improving your product. The best ways to keep improving your product, of course, are collect and evaluate customer feedback. That's really important. Ask what people are feeling about your product. Do they like your product? Is it useful to them? And guys, keep those comments coming. I noticed your comments slowed down. Don't be slowing down. Keep your comments coming. The next thing you can do is monitor what the market wants on social media, forums, industry events. What are people complaining about? What are people liking? Does some other competitor out there have some things, some benefits that you don't have? Can you add those to your product? Can you have some benefits they don't have? What could you do? The next thing you can do is consult with experts using the product. Sit down with them and say, hey, you're using my software for XYZ. What is it that you would like to see added to this product? You can do that. Did you see my question above? Let's see here. Let me see here, Richard. Let me go back to these real quick. I apologize when they're coming in. Let's see here. I have a person that used to manage my email campaign with Aweber MailChimp, but lost in the pandemic. You lost the person or you lost your list? I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. Let me know what you're saying there, and I'll be happy to help you out with that, Richard. Okay. Yeah, just clarify on there what you meant by that. And Aweber's not bad. MailChimp's, yeah. I really recommend Kartra. I really do, because you can do so much more with it. You can automate so many more things than you can with those two platforms. Not that they're bad, they're just not as good. All right, let me get a sip here. And then once you answer that, Richard, I'll come back to that. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about here, and the last thing probably, is track and improve Net Promoter Score. What's your Net Promoter Score? Well, remember that point about the influence of churn rates on your income and all that stuff? NPS is a best proxy for improving both churn and your income on a monthly basis. NPS represents customer satisfaction and loyalty based on how likely they are to recommend your product and services to other people. So you want to monitor this, okay? So you surely are going to encounter many NPS surveys already. Often they look like, they're going to send you a survey and it says, I don't know, Billy, how likely are you to recommend, our company to a friend or colleague? And you're going to score it 1 to 10. Are you doing those with your product? You should, okay? NPS scales are very, very important. The score the user selects dictates whether they're a detractor, passive, or promoter, okay? They're going to fall into one of those three categories. And that depends on where they are on the scale, okay? So let's say you got a 1 to 10 scale, one being, you're terrible, and 10 being you're the best thing in the world. 1 through about 6 are going to be detractors. They're going to be hurting overall your company, okay? A 7 and an 8 is going to be more passives, okay? 9, 10 are going to be promoters. People are going to be talking about your product, services out there. And let me see if Richard got his question put back in here. Let's see here. I think he did. Should I hire somebody new, or should I take the time to learn how to run my own campaigns? That's a great question. And my answer is both. My answer is both. I don't like to have anybody, I run my own campaigns. That's not to say that you shouldn't have somebody run campaigns, because you can. But I would say, even if you're going to hire somebody, you need to know how to do these things, because the thing is, you can't manage what you don't know, right? You can't manage what you don't know. If somebody says, I wrote some great emails and I didn't get any response, you don't know if they wrote great emails or not, So I think it's super important that what you do is you learn this stuff and actually do it some yourself. And if you have any specific questions on that, Richard, I'll be happy to answer those for you. But I think it's so important that you understand anything that you hire out to somebody. Now, with that having been said, I have some coding done on my site, and I don't know that coding. I'm not going to, tell you I do know the coding. However, I know the general process of what they need to do. I just am not going to spend my time doing coding. It's just not going to happen. But I think you need to learn every process of your business. I really, really do. I think the person that is on top of all that is going to be a whole lot easier to manage people. And once you learn it, you can certainly manage people better. And you'll also know if you're paying the right amount. I had another question just pop up here. I like Bronson's products, but I find it difficult to just place on an order because of too many upsells. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Russell Brunson does a lot of upsells. I have an associate that does 19 upsells. 19 upsells. 19. Did you hear me? 19. I usually do 2 or 3 maybe. And there's an argument to be made on both sides of this stuff. If people are still buying, he's still, selling stuff. So everybody's different, and some people may love that, Paul, and some people may be totally turned off and not buy anything because of it. I think overall, he must be making money, because if he wasn't, he wouldn't be doing it. So, upsell thing, really that's up to you what you want to do there. But once you've surveyed your customers and you've figured out, what's going on, most types of software that manage these surveys for you will also calculate the NPS. Generally speaking, an NPS score above 70 is considered exceptionally good, but always check, benchmarks for your industry and all that, because it could be entirely different. Improving your NPS will most likely decrease your churn and vice versa. Do note the tactics for achieving these objectives are interchangeable. NPS is just another method for tracking your progress and gaining more insights. That's it, okay? So overall, your churn rate is so important, guys. I do want to mention a tactic that can decrease your churn rate, but will most likely hurt your brand and reputation in the long run. You want to hear about that? And it's making your subscriptions more difficult to cancel. That's up to you. And I'm not saying I practice these things, but I do want to share everything with you. I would not do this. Make your sign up and cancellation process clear and frictionless. I don't want somebody to feel stuck with one of my products, but I know a lot of companies do that. They make it very difficult to get out of a subscription. Remember this, a certain percentage of churn rate is completely fine and natural. Don't obsess over the metric if you're already doing well against industry benchmarks. So if you have any other parting questions, guys, I want to make sure I answer those. I see a couple popping in now. See here, Richard says, in the past, I would write the emails and they would send and add new clients to my list. So I did manage the content and they handle the logistics to send out to my list. Richard, man, buddy, if you're already writing the emails, what I would suggest is that you write a series of welcome emails and then whatever cells you have and put those into a funnel in Kartra, email sequence in Kartra. And then when new people come in, and when I say new people, let's say a new person gets added to your list and you've tagged them as new customer or real estate download or whatever it is, they start in that funnel. They start in the welcome and then they go into all the upsells. If you use that tagging system in Kartra, this is all automated. You probably don't need to hire anybody because it's set up to where it starts sending emails once they've been added to the list or once they've been added to the sequence. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to have anybody else start sending them out. It will automatically do it for you. It will also shut them off. Let's say you're marketing, 10 steps to buy repossessed properties. I know you're in that. 10 steps to buy repossessed properties. And let's say they buy that report from you and there's 6 emails that sell the report to them and they keep hammering them until they buy the report. Let's say they buy it on the second email. Kartra will actually take them out of that sequence and not send them any more emails if they buy that product and send them to another sequence and maybe you have some other product you want to sell. So I would really suggest if that's all you're doing, if you're writing the emails, you're just having somebody else, set them up, send them out. I wouldn't do it. I would automate it all through Kartra, and that way you can set that up, and that could be sitting there for years, as long as it works for you. How often do you survey your customers? Not that often anymore, Paul. I really don't. And reason being is my customers are so friggin' loyal in Survival Food Company. And I tell you, I've got my own biases about surveys. I won't do any surveys whatsoever, ever, never. I don't care if the service is great or bad or whatever it is. I don't do surveys. And I've let that, and I probably shouldn't, I've let that bleed into what I do with my customers because I figure they won't do it either, which is probably totally wrong. I probably should do more surveys is the answer for you on that one. Okay, I'll be honest. What days are you going to be on this week? Miss the Friday or Saturday live if there was one. I am definitely doing Monday and Wednesday, and I'm still vacillating. Do I do Friday or Saturday? Last week, I did Saturday. This past weekend, I did do Saturday. And I'm still trying to figure out if Friday or Saturday is better. So I don't know. It's definitely going to be Monday, Wednesday, and I'll send you an email. You're on my list, I'm sure. So it'll be either Friday or Saturday also. Let's see here. That's good. I often forgot to stay consistent with my email frequencies. Yeah, see, if you set this up, Richard, in Kartra, you don't have to worry about it. It's kind of like you could do things like, let's say you have an email sequence where you're selling 10 steps to buy foreclosure properties. Okay, let's say that's what you're doing and it's $50 or whatever it is. And you have a sequence of 5 emails that go out over 4 days. Okay, you have 2 emails on your last day. And that goes out, and then it's set up to where if somebody buys it, then those emails stop. Okay, pretty cool. And then that person gets tagged that they bought that particular product. you could then automatically send them to another sequence that you have where you're selling a $200 product on renovating properties, okay, or whatever it was. So then it's going to send them to that sequence. But let's say they went through that first sequence, that $50 how to buy, foreclosed properties, and they didn't buy it, okay? Now, let's stop for a second. The reason they didn't buy it, we don't know what it is. We don't know if it's that they didn't have $50, okay? We don't know if it's that they weren't interested. We don't know if they were intentionally trying to buy it and their kid walked in the room and they totally forgot about it. We don't know why they didn't buy it. So the shame is that email that would go out to them, and let's say they're tagged as new customer, okay? That's the trigger. New customer is the trigger. So if we customize this to where the trigger is new customer, okay, and they've got that tag, and then it goes through the sequence and they don't buy. What I like to do at the end of the sequence, let's say a month afterwards, I can have it where that tag expires of going through that sequence. Let's say you've got a tag that says they've completed the sequence, non-buyer of this sequence. What I do is I make that tag expire so that a month or two later, that sequence starts all over again and starts sending out to them because they didn't buy. Okay, so you can use expiring tags in Kartra, which is a really cool option because you scoop up all those people that have been through a sequence that didn't buy from you, and a month or two later, you send them out the email again. And now maybe they have $50. Now maybe they're not being interrupted. Now maybe they're serious about it. So that's why I like these automations, is because I don't have to remember to do stuff. It reminds me, okay? Should I call or email my clients that are disengaged from the pandemic? It's about 400 people. I don't know what your relationship is with them. In other words, have you talked to them on the phone before? Is that something you've done? It's really weird. Like if I were to just call one of my customers out of the blue and say, hey, you want to buy some survival food? They've been on my list for over 10 years. They'd be like, what are you doing calling me? But if I had a relationship where we had like a phone center and we were calling them up and selling them survival food on a regular basis, it would seem quite normal. So that's up to you. I think emails are always appropriate. I think people expect to get emails from businesses. Maybe not their friends and family all the time. I don't get that many emails from friends and family, but I expect to get them from businesses, from doctor's appointments, from all that stuff. So I think emails are always important. And the cool thing about Kartra is if they don't open or engage after a period of time, they blacklist them, and you can just remove them from your list, which is what you want to do. Does Kartra have any training on how to use it? It does. But I also have a lot of training on my channel on how to use Kartra. So if you just go to my channel and type in Kartra in the search box, you're going to find a lot of training on that. And guys, I really appreciate the questions. These are very, very helpful. I do appreciate you putting those in there. Let's see. What other ideas do you think prevent current? Wait, what other ideas do you think prevent current? I don't know what that means. Do you think running contests or any loyalty program are worth the time? Yes, and we've just added a loyalty program to Survivalcave Food where they get points and they can use those for future purposes. And you can get software that does this for you. We bought some software and had it installed. It was pretty expensive, but overall it calculates everything and they can always log into their account. And when they're checking out and they're logged in, they can actually see their loyalty points. And that reminds me, I want to do a video on that. Thank you for reminding me on that. Good advice today. Thanks, Richard. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Got the UPS guy at the door. Cheers again. We always have the UPS guy at the door. Why do you even open it? We don't open it. I help them over the phone during consultations. I would definitely call them then. I would say, hey, just checking in on you. I've got some stuff I want to tell you about, some new stuff. I got a freebie I'd like to give you. Come up with some 10-step freebie, 20-step freebie that you can email them. And maybe you want to offer them, if they were paying you for consultations, maybe you want to offer them a 15-minute get back up to speed type thing. We'll give you 15 minutes of consultation to help you get back up to speed after the pandemic and show you what's really working right now. I would definitely do that then. So if you've built that relationship, that would be great to do that. It really would. That would be very, very helpful. And I would suggest you doing that. Guys, great session today. You guys have been awesome. I really appreciate you being here. I so appreciate you putting comments in there and talking to me. I'd be all lonesome if I didn't have you. So put all that stuff in there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you would do that. Give me a thumbs up. That thumbs up means more than you realize. I mean, I don't know how they calculate it, but that thumbs up thing means so much. So if you would hit that thumbs up, I would appreciate it. Don't forget, for your benefit is to ring that bell. Turn on all bell notifications so you're notified each and every time I go live. Richard just gave me a thank you. I appreciate that, Richard. Very nice of you. Guys, you're awesome. And don't forget also, if you want to put in that chat section, or even if it's not live in the comment section, some subject matter you'd like to see me go over. Maybe it's Kartra. Maybe you want me to teach you some stuff on Kartra. I'll be happy to do that. So, please put that in there, and I'll be happy to help you with that. I want you guys to have a great day. Make sure you treat everybody kindly. Sometimes it's very hard to do. Some people make it difficult to be kind to them, and I know it. And those are the very people that need your kindness, because something's going on in their world. I mean, right now our world is in a jumble, okay? And it normally is for a portion of the population all the time. So keep that in mind. Somebody cuts you off on the road, maybe something happened to them. Maybe they're sick. Maybe they're hurrying to get home because their kid fell down. Whatever it is, try to understand that their actions may not represent who they are. So just be kind to people. Be kind to your customers. Take care of your customers. Understand they are your lifeblood. You guys are my lifeblood, okay? My living comes from online. Cold calling for new clients or cold emailing would be a good topic. Okay, I'll do that. You can't really cold email because that's a violation of the Canned Spam Act. So you're not allowed to email somebody if they haven't given you permission to email them. I will tell you that, so don't do that. You will lose your account, whether it's MailChimp or Aweber or Kartra, whoever it is, if they catch you doing that. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to say, I got a bunch of these emails, I'm just going to email people. Don't do it. Don't do it. You got to get them to opt in. And you can do that with a simple ad on YouTube or something like that. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And I'm going to see you on Wednesday. Talk to you real soon.